Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Jason, and as always, I'm here with my amazing co-host, Julia. Hey, Julia!
Hi, Jason. Hi, everyone. It's so good to be back with you all. I'm really excited about today's topic because it's something many English learners ask us about.
Absolutely. Today, we're talking about how to reply fast in English. This is a skill that so many learners want to improve. You might know what to say, but sometimes your brain just freezes. And by the time you think of the right words, the conversation has already moved on.
Yes, I hear that all the time. Learners often tell me, I understand English, but I just can't reply fast. And you know what? That's completely normal at first. But with the right techniques and practice, you can get better, and today we're going to show you how.
Exactly. Whether you're chatting with a friend, speaking in class, or working in an English-speaking environment, replying quickly and naturally can make a big difference. It helps you feel more confident, more fluent, and more connected to others.
In this episode, we're going to break it all down. We'll talk about the common reasons learners struggle, and we'll give you 5 powerful tips you can use to speak faster and sound more natural in real conversations.
So, if you've ever felt stuck or slow when replying in English, don't worry. You're not alone. Stay with us, because this episode is packed with useful advice, real examples, and even some fun practice.
Let's get into it.
So, Julia, before we get into the tips, let's talk about the big question. Why do so many English learners have trouble replying fast?
That's a really good question, Jason. I think one of the biggest reasons is that many learners try to translate everything from their native language into English, and that takes time. The brain is working hard in the background, and it slows everything down.
Yes. And while you're busy thinking about grammar rules, vocabulary, and pronunciation, the moment to reply just passes. It's like trying to run a race with heavy weights on your feet.
Exactly. Another reason is fear. Many learners are afraid of making mistakes, so they pause too long. They want their answer to be perfect, but in real conversations, perfect doesn't matter. Natural matters.
Right. People don't expect perfect English, they just want to connect with you. And honestly, even native speakers make little grammar mistakes all the time. It's completely normal.
Another thing is that learners often don't have enough practice speaking in real situations. Reading and writing are great, but if you're not speaking often, your brain won't get used to replying quickly.
I totally agree. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. You can read about it all day, but until you actually get on the bike and practice, you won't feel confident.
Exactly. So if you're listening to this and thinking, why can't I reply fast like others? Remember, it's not about talent or being smart. It's just about practice, mindset, and using the right techniques.
And that's what we're here for today, to help you with those techniques. We're going to share tips that are simple, fun, and super effective, so you can train your brain to reply faster in English conversations.
Ready to go from slow to smooth? Let's dive into the first tip.
All right, let's jump into Tip 1. Use common phrases and sentence starters. Now, one of the easiest ways to reply quickly in English is by having a set of go-to phrases that you can use in almost any situation.
Exactly. When you don't have to think too hard about what to say, it gives your brain more space to focus on the conversation itself. These phrases are like shortcuts. They save you time and make you sound natural.
Let's start with some basic sentence starters, like I think or that's a good question. These are great when you need a moment to gather your thoughts. You don't have to reply immediately. These phrases buy you some time and show that you're engaged in the conversation.
Right. And once you start using them, they become second nature. For example, if someone asks, "What's your opinion on the new movie?" you could say, "I think it was a great film, but the ending was a bit confusing." That simple "I think" gives you a second to organize your thoughts.
Another good one is, "Let me think, this is perfect," when you need a few seconds to form a good reply. For example, "Let me think, I'd say my favorite book is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho."
Oh, and don't forget about actually. You can use this to correct someone or add more details to your answer. For example, "Actually, I haven't seen that movie yet, but I've heard it's amazing." It's a great filler to help you sound more natural.
Another one that's really useful is, "That's interesting." Let's say someone says something surprising. You can reply with, "That's interesting. I didn't know that." It shows you're listening and keeps the conversation flowing.
Yes. And then, when you're ready to add your thoughts, you can follow up with something like, "Well, in my experience," or "from my point of view."
Exactly. These phrases are simple, but they make a big difference. The more you use them, the quicker your replies will become. You'll notice how much more fluent you sound.
Let's do a quick example to show how this works. I'll ask you a question, and you reply with one of these sentence starters. Ready?
All right, let's do it.
Okay, here's the question. What do you think about the new trends in technology?
That's a good question. I think technology is moving at an incredibly fast pace, and it's exciting, but it also comes with some challenges like privacy concerns.
Great. You used, "That's a good question," and then smoothly continued with your answer. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it sounds confident and natural.
Exactly. And the best part is that these sentence starters don't require a lot of thinking. They just give you that little boost of confidence so you can reply faster without stressing.
So, we encourage all of you to start practicing these phrases in your daily conversations. Pick a few and use them this week. You'll be surprised how much faster and more confident your replies will get.
All right, moving on to tip 2, don't translate in your head. This one is a biggie, Julia. I know a lot of learners struggle with it, but it really can make a huge difference in how fast you respond.
Yes, absolutely. What happens when you translate is that you're essentially doing double the work. First, you think of the idea in your native language, then you have to translate it into English, which takes time, and by the time you're ready, the conversation has moved on.
Exactly. And it can also mess with the natural flow of the conversation. So, the goal here is to start thinking directly in English without having to go through that translation process in your head.
It sounds tricky, right? But the more you practice, the easier it gets. It's kind of like building a new habit. At first, you have to be very intentional, but eventually, your brain will just think in English.
Right. And one way to practice this is by focusing on learning phrases and vocabulary that you can use in different situations. For example, instead of translating, "I don't know," from your native language, learn to say it directly in English, like, "I'm not sure," or "I'm not really certain."
Yes. So, next time someone asks you a question, don't translate "I don't know" in your head in your first language. Just go with "I'm not sure" right away. That automatic response comes from thinking in English.
Let's do a quick exercise to practice this. I'll give you a sentence in your native language, and you'll try to reply to me directly in English without translating. Okay, here's the sentence. What time is the meeting tomorrow?
The meeting is at 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Wow, that was fast. You didn't even pause to think about translating it. You just replied straight in English.
That's because I've trained my brain to think in English in situations like this. Over time, you can do the same.
Exactly. The more you practice this method, the faster your replies will get. It's all about making English your default thinking language. And don't be afraid to make mistakes along the way. The important thing is that you're practicing.
And once you stop translating, you'll notice how much smoother and faster your responses are because you're no longer fighting against your own thoughts.
So, our advice for you today: Try to think in English as much as possible. It takes time, but with consistent practice, your replies will become more automatic. All right, let's dive into Tip 3, Learn Short and Natural Responses. Julia, you and I both know that sometimes less is more, right?
Absolutely. When you're replying in English, it's so tempting to give long, detailed answers, but that can actually slow you down. The key is to use short, natural responses that keep the conversation moving.
Exactly. Think about how native speakers talk. They don't always give long, complex answers. They keep it short and sweet, and their conversations flow much faster. So, why shouldn't you do the same?
For example, if someone asks, "Did you have a good weekend?" You don't need to say, "Yes, I went to the beach with my family and we had a great time. The weather was amazing and we stayed for a few hours." You could just reply, "Yes, it was great. How about you?"
Exactly. A simple, "Yes, it was great," keeps things moving. It shows you're engaged and interested without going into too much detail. Plus, it gives the other person space to respond and keep the conversation going.
And it's not just for casual conversations. Even in more formal situations, you can still use short responses. If someone asks you, "How are you today?" instead of saying, "I'm doing well, thank you for asking." "I've been feeling a bit tired this week, but overall I'm okay," just reply, "I'm good, thanks. How about you?"
That's right. Short responses not only make it easier to reply faster, but they also help you sound more natural. Native speakers don't always use long sentences. They use shorter phrases like "I see," "That makes sense," or even just "okay."
Yeah, those small responses are really powerful in keeping the conversation flowing. Let's practice this a bit. I'll ask you a question and you give me a short and natural reply. Okay, here's the question. What did you do last weekend?
I just relaxed at home. It was nice to take it easy.
Perfect. That was a simple, clear response that didn't need extra details, but it still gave enough information to keep the conversation moving.
Exactly. And by keeping things short and natural, you give yourself more space to think about your next reply, rather than feeling pressured to explain every little detail. Plus, it makes your speech sound much more fluent.
So remember, you don't have to give long, complex answers to keep the conversation going. Use short, simple phrases like, "I see, that's cool, I agree," and your replies will come much faster.
Yes, and the more you practice these short responses, the more natural they'll feel, and the quicker your replies will be. Trust me, it's one of the easiest ways to sound more confident in English. All right, moving on to Tip 4 practice with speed drills. This is one of my favorite techniques, Julia. It's all about pushing your brain to reply faster by practicing under time pressure.
I love speed drills. The idea behind them is simple. You set a timer and you try to answer as quickly as possible without overthinking. It's kind of like a workout for your brain.
Exactly. Just like how you do physical drills to improve your fitness, you can do these speed drills to improve your English. The goal is to react quickly, without pausing to think too much.
One way to do this is by setting a timer for, let's say, 30 seconds, and then answering a question as fast as you can. For example, you might get a question like, "What do you enjoy most about learning English?" You start the timer, and then you immediately try to answer in 30 seconds.
Right. And it doesn't matter if the answer isn't perfect. The point is to practice responding without overthinking or worrying too much about mistakes. Over time, you'll get faster and more comfortable.
Another fun way to do this is by having a friend or a language partner ask you rapid-fire questions. They ask one question after another, and you try to answer quickly, one after another. This keeps you on your toes and helps you improve your speed.
Exactly. And you can even record yourself while doing the drills. Afterward, listen to the recording and notice if you hesitated or paused for too long. You can use that to track your progress and focus on areas where you can improve.
I love that idea. Speed drills don't have to be stressful, though. You can start slow and work your way up. For example, start with a 1-minute timer, and as you get better, reduce the time. Soon enough, you'll be able to reply fast, even in real conversations.
It's all about consistency. If you practice speed drills regularly, you'll notice how much faster and more confident you get in real conversations. So, set that timer and challenge yourself.
Definitely. And remember, the more you practice, the more natural and quick your responses will feel. Keep pushing yourself to answer faster, and soon you won't even have to think about it. Your replies will just come naturally.
All right, we're on to our final tip: improve listening to reply fast. Julia, this might surprise some people, but listening is actually just as important as speaking when it comes to replying quickly, right?
Exactly. The better your listening skills are, the faster you can understand and process what's being said, which means you can reply almost instantly without having to ask someone to repeat themselves.
That's right. If you're struggling to understand the question or what someone just said, it's going to take you longer to think of a response. But if you can listen well and understand right away, you'll be able to reply much faster.
One way to improve your listening is by regularly exposing yourself to English conversations. Whether it's podcasts, movies, or real-life interactions, the more you listen, the easier it will be to catch what people are saying.
Exactly. For example, when you're watching a movie in English, try to listen carefully to how people respond in different situations. Pay attention to the speed and rhythm of their replies, and try to mimic that in your own practice.
Also, active listening is key. Don't just hear the words. Really pay attention to the meaning behind them. That helps you think of the best reply quickly. If someone asks you, "How was your day?" don't just think about the word day. Focus on their tone and intention to help guide your response.
Right. And the more you practice listening to native speakers, the quicker your brain will get at processing that information. Over time, it'll be like second nature to you.
So, in summary, improve your listening by exposing yourself to as much English as you can, practicing active listening, and focusing on the meaning of what's being said. The faster you understand, the faster you can reply.
All right, now let's put everything we've talked about into practice with a quick role-play session. Julia, how about we do a little mock conversation, and we'll both try to reply as quickly as possible using the tips we've shared.
I'm up for it. Let's keep the responses short and natural, and we'll try not to translate anything in our heads. Ready?
Let's do it! I'll ask you a question, and you try to answer as fast as you can. Here we go. What did you have for lunch today?
I had a sandwich and some fruit. What about you?
I had a salad with chicken. It was really healthy. What's your favorite type of music?
I love pop music, especially upbeat songs. How about you?
I'm into rock music. It keeps me energized. If you could travel anywhere right now, where would you go?
I'd go to Japan. I've always wanted to visit there. What about you?
I'd love to go to Italy. The food and culture are amazing.
Great job. That was fun and fast. We kept our answers short and didn't overthink them. We were both listening carefully, which helped us reply quickly.
Exactly. So, whether you're practicing on your own with speed drills or doing role plays like this, remember, the more you practice, the faster and more confident you'll get in real conversations.
Absolutely. It's all about building that muscle memory in English, so don't worry about perfection. Just keep practicing, and your replies will get faster and more natural.
Before we wrap up, Julia, I think it's important to share one final tip, and it's all about mindset. Don't fear mistakes. If you want to reply quickly, you have to let go of the fear of making mistakes.
Yes, definitely. Many learners get stuck because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing, but that only slows them down. Mistakes are part of the learning process, and they help you improve.
Exactly. If you make a mistake, so what? The important thing is to keep talking and keep practicing. The more you speak without worrying about mistakes, the faster you'll reply, and the more confident you'll become.
And remember, native speakers make mistakes too, so it's completely normal to slip up every now and then. Just keep moving forward and focus on communicating clearly.
So, embrace your mistakes, laugh at them, and learn from them. Don't let them hold you back from replying quickly and fluently. All right, we've covered a lot of great tips today, Julia. Let's quickly recap the key takeaways for everyone listening. First, we talked about using common phrases and sentence starters to help you reply quickly.
Exactly, and then we mentioned not translating in your head. It's important to stop translating from your native language so that your replies can come more naturally and faster.
And we also talked about learning short and natural responses. Keep it simple and don't overcomplicate your answers. It helps with speed and fluency.
We also touched on practicing with speed drills. Challenge yourself to answer questions quickly and without overthinking. The more you practice, the faster you'll respond.
And don't forget, improving your listening skills is crucial. The quicker you understand what someone is saying, the faster you can reply.
And last but not least, don't fear mistakes. It's all part of the process. The more you practice without worrying about errors, the more natural and confident you'll feel.
So, here's your action plan for today. Start practicing one of these tips every day. Pick a time to practice speed drills or listen to English conversations. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and keep pushing yourself to respond faster.
Yes, the key is consistency. The more you practice, the more natural and quick your replies will be, and you'll notice the difference in your real-life conversations.
Great job today, everyone. Keep practicing, stay positive, and soon enough, you'll be replying in English like a pro.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.